Good morning, everybody. It's a bright day just because of all the snow on the ground. We've got some topics in the main screen for you if you want to check something that you need to see about. And whoever checked the other, if you could type into the chat pod what that other represents for you, then we will make sure that we're getting all of your questions answered. As we complete a section, we'll open up the poll at the bottom underneath the chat pod to make sure that if you have a question, we can answer it. If you need to see more, we can do that, or if you're ready for the next topic. So right now I'm going to turn the screen over to Natasha, and then we will see what she has to show us for the new updates.
Okay. Thank you. So just to start out with, I'll give you a chance to mark any of those polling questions that you have, if you have specific areas that you want to cover. But we do have the optimal resume, which has a resume builder and portfolio builder. That tool is going to be made available to our ATIM enrolled customers through their ATIM account. And so if you could spread the word, we did send an email out to those customers who are enrolled, whether they're in the treatment or the veteran group. But if you wouldn't mind just letting, as a reminder, that this is a tool that they can use, and the webinar is available on February 5th and 6th. And you should have received the registration for it as well. We do have, the registration is rather low at this time, but we do have quite a few, case managers, OES staff that are registered for it. So we'd really like to get some of your customers involved in that so they can ask questions if they have questions at that time. So, okay, well with that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move this polling question over. We'll take a look at that just in a little bit. I've got my screen is sharing, so I'm going to pull that over so that you can see it. Let me know if you have any trouble seeing it. I'm going to go ahead, and one of the things that I like to show everyone, or just remind everyone, that we do have, all the information through the ATIM online guide. And if you're not sure if you missed an update or not, we do have a section called ATIM Updates. And since our last webinar, we've had a few new releases, and then I'm going to show you those. So then we'll also cover some of those areas that you had questions on. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is the report. I think this will be useful for many of you. And so I'm going to go to, I'm already logged in as an LES staff person in our edit area, our training area. And I'm logged in, and if I go to my report section, then I'll see PTEP report, Personalized Training and Employment Plan report. And if you have access to multiple regions, then you'll see, you can see all the areas that you have access to. So for example, this one, I believe I'm in Central, so I can see the LES for that. I can filter them out for treatment or veteran. I can take a look to see, how many people maybe I have in CNC, and I can also see their status. So for example, if I just wanted to see that these are the people that are in my test group that have the occupation for CNC, I can see that this person has a personalized training plan that's already started, but we need to work with HW3 because this person's assigned to a team, but they don't have any start dates. So you can kind of see an overview, just easily filter out. This is in addition to some of those, some of the areas on the training plan dashboard. So you can actually, just filter out the listing of people. You can access their plan. And let me go ahead and go back to all and search. And you can export the list as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. Get my, there it is. Pull that over here. And when you export the list, you'll see there's a lot more information there. You can obviously see the region, LWIA. You'll see the SPR ID. And again, these are test people, so your IDs are going to look a little bit different. It'll either have their SPR ID, or if they are not in that group, then you'll see that they're in the veterans group. You can see their target occupation, first name, last name, the team name, so you can easily sort out that team. You can see their status. Do they have a start date or do they not? So you can easily find those people that don't that you need to work with. So, you know, maybe I can see that these people aren't assigned to a team. I can easily see that list, or if I can see that they've been assigned to a team, but these are the people that don't have anything in these other major areas within the personalized training and employment plan. I'm going to go ahead and select all. And for those of you that are not quite as familiar with Excel, what I've done is at the top level, I highlighted the level. I can go to sort and filter, and then you can select this filter button. And when I do that, you'll see that then I have these little arrows. So I can click on the arrows for like the drop-down menu, and then I can just say, I only want to see these people. So you can just easily filter it out. Then we have each of these columns. We have that has an overall training plan start date and overall end date. So you can take a look if you just want to see the date ranges for those. You can see if people have the expanded bridge, you know, if their service is complete, if they have a start date for step 1, and you can see on track, off track. Step 2, start and end date. Step 3, start and end date, off track. Optional training, section 1, section 2, section 3, technical training, work-based learning, and so forth. So let me just show you on the training plan, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Go ahead, select this person. And so that report correlates with this, you know, you'll have your start and end date, and then for step 1 is part of the expanded bridge section. We have step 1, 2, 3, optional training, section 1, 2, and 3. And then technical training is just technical training, and same with work-based learning, job placements, because they don't have different sections. So anyway, you have that report that's available to you. Okay? Let me just take a look at, are there any questions related to that, Dee, that I missed?
No, we have some other questions that we're working on getting answers for, but you can keep going with that section.
Alrighty. Okay, so that's a new item that was released. We've also added the feature. I think last time I might have showed this to you on the edit. This is out in production now. Remember, currently you're looking at edit, but this is available in production. It's under Work-Based Learning and Jobs tab. And so you'll see you can add your employer, your list of employers. Then you have your actual openings. So we'll just click on White Noise Company, and we'll see that each of these has one opening. So I'm just going to go ahead and select Machine Operator. And I can see that I can either choose to show this to all of the applicants in that target occupation, or I can show to display it to only certain customers. So I can see that these people already have this item that's displayed to them in their personalized training and employment plan. And if I'd like to add more customers, to show it to more customers, I simply add more customers, and it provides me a list of people that that are available for me to select from. So it's going to show me people that, number one, that I have access to because they're in my region, or if I have access to multiple regions, I can see them for the multiple regions. And it's also going to it's going to display those individuals that have machining as their target occupation. If they have logistics as their target occupation, they're not going to be displayed in this list. Now, some people may say, okay, well, where does this target occupation come from? How do they know which customers have this as their target occupation? Let's go ahead and take a look at Chris's plan, and I'll show you. Whenever I go into Chris's plan, you can see that under the Manufacturing Expanded Bridge Program, there's an area for the target occupation. And that's where I have selected this target occupation for this customer. If they don't have anything listed there, then they're not going to be able to have any of the job postings displayed for them. Any questions on that section?
No, we don't have any questions on that.
Okay.
I'm collecting some, though, for when you're done.
Okay. The other areas that we are working on, oh, wait a minute, before I go, let me go back one more thing. Let me just go to my customers real quick. Another item that we have updated is that we used to just display the 20 people here. Now it's a default of 250. It's a minor thing, but just wanted to let you know that we did make that update as well. One of the things that we're currently working on is displaying the actuals that we get from IWDS. So we're still doing some more testing on this. It looks like it's pretty much ready to go out the door. But like I said, we just are adding a few more things into the testing environment for IWDS so we can make sure that everything is working as it should be. And so again, this will populate for your region. If I have access to multiple regions, I'll see a drop down and it'll change based on, the numbers will change based on that region. But my account that I'm in right now is for the central region. So I can see that these people, there's three people, three instances where this actual has been entered into IWDS, and it has a status of successful completion. Let's go ahead. I'll take a look at this person who has an optional MSSC certification. So I click on the number, just like the rest of the dashboard. It displays at the top. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at Frederick's plan. And that's in Frederick's plan at the top. I can see my actual. So I can see assessments that have been entered for this person. I can see services that have been entered, and these are coming from IWDS. Now remember, these first two are automatically populated whenever you complete steps 1 and step 2 of the training plan when you put those dates in there. These other items have been entered manually into IWDS. So what we do is we pull those in here and populate the services section as well as the dashboard. Yes.
Somebody's saying that they're having problems hearing you. If anybody else is having problems hearing, you can dial into 866-821-1611. I'm going to put that into the chat pod.
Okay. Okay, so we have the hide services, and we also have the actuals that are coming in from the from IWDS as well. So I believe for the permanent placement, that's where you'll see the stock code and job title that's entered into IWDS. As I understand, when we did our initial testing and then release, it was pulling in some other jobs that were populated, I believe, by IWDS. And Jim, you can correct me if I'm saying any of this incorrectly. But it was displaying that past work history. And so we've made an update to the programming so that it only pulls in, it does a check to make sure that these jobs that are entered in here are the ones that are entered in by the case managers into IWDS. So it does a check to make sure that all the required fields that are in IWDS, it has to have all those required fields before it's pulled in here, so you're not getting a whole bunch of extra jobs. So if you looked at it last week and noticed, like, where did all these things come from, and now they're not there, that's what we did.
And that's correct, Natasha. For everybody that has ever loaded customers in, usually dislocated workers, IDS back populates all their employment history after an application has been certified when we get inputs of wages. So that's where that confusion was coming. But those that are populated by IDES, they don't have the NASIX code known as Natasha had said. So only the job that you folks load in will have that. So that's how we'll know that it's the employment that was loaded by the ATIM case manager.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so those are the new releases and getting ready to release, I should say, for the actuals in the dashboard. And then, okay, so I know that we did have a couple questions that we can go ahead and answer these first.
Do you want to do the one about adding the ATIM team member first, and then Mike can answer those other questions?
Okay, so for the adding the team member, okay. Let me look at the question again. Okay, what they need to do is they need to have an Illinois WorkNet Workforce Partner account. Let's say, yeah, for community college representative, yes. They need to have an Illinois WorkNet Workforce Partner account. And then once they do that, send the information to info@illinoisworknet.com. And then you need to let us know which region, and you need to let us know what access level. So in this case, they would be post-secondary, I'm assuming, and for central region. So that information is under Get Started. And yeah, for setting up a team. So just, just let us know what their staff, the name, region, partner type, and send it to info@illinoisworknet.com. And we can get them access. Okay. Okay, and then do we want to move on to some of the other questions?
Let's. Are you done doing all of the demonstration items, Natasha?
We can. I would like to know specifically. One person has indicated they have the intake. I'll just do this really quickly. For the intake process, one person had indicated that they wanted to take a look at some of the ATIM tools. Actually, I'm going to go back to dashboards. Our dashboard is really the best way to filter out those. We have different dashboards, so let me specify. The intake dashboard is where the best place to access a group of customers that you want to work with. So I always think of it as, green, they've already done this, and they're ready to move on to the whole next section. Red, they don't qualify to move on to the next section, so they're stuck right here. The yellow is that these people need some kind of action taken. So I could click on this link and get a filtered list of those people that need to take the TAME. If I have people that have already gone through WIA eligibility, and I do want to mention now with this WIA eligibility, you'll see that the WIA eligible people will move on and it unlocks the next sections in the intake process. If they're not eligible, we had an instance come up this week where a person, or end of last week, where a person was marked as not eligible in IWDS, and so when it did the sync, it pulled that in that they're not eligible. And so what we've done is with the syncing process, we, kind of like, what I want to say, like prioritize. So if you're you don't have anything for eligible, it checks it more often. If you're already checked with eligible, then it checks it, less frequently. And if you're marked with not eligible, it checks even less frequently for updates to that status. So I believe my programmer has updated that. So if you accidentally mark it as a person as not eligible in IWDS, and then you later realize that, ooh, I forgot to enter something, and they really are eligible, then that will pick up the change, but it just checks every 24 hours to see if that eligibility status has been updated. If you need it to be done faster than that, then just send an email to info@ or to me and let us know that you need to have that changed sooner than 24 hours. So. Okay, so if we have people that have passed WIA eligibility, and then they go down to ATIM eligibility, I can simply click on not set. I can go to any of these people. And I can go to their profile. I go to ATIM eligibility. And I can see that since we have all of our WIA eligibility information, then the optional assessment section is unlocked. And so once we complete this optional assessment area, then it'll unlock the drug test. Once the drug test information has been entered as passed, it will unlock the random assignment group. And if they are not veterans, they will be, their name will be available for the people who enter that information into the random assignment system. And then they will be either assigned as treatment or control. And if they are a veteran, then they are not entered into the random assignment system, and they are automatically enrolled to have a personalized training and employment plan. Okay, so then the next step is the one person has to creating teams. Before your customers can be added to a team, before your customers can have a personalized training plan, they have to be added to a team. So you can set up your team to each region. It's a regional approach on how you want to use your teams. Enter in a team name. And then I have to select 3 people. It has to be program manager, 1 LWIA, and then a content expert. So you can see you have the person's name, first name and last name, and then their role. So I can easily see that I want to have an LWIA, I want to have my project manager, and I'm going to have my post-secondary person. And then once I set up my team, then I have to identify who is going to be responsible for saying that this service is complete. I'm just going to make it my LWIA person because I want the information to come to me.
So Natasha, once, based on Karen's question, once she adds the community college representative by emailing you, then that community college representative's name would be in that list of people from which they can select.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then that is all for the areas that have been identified to say, that they wanted to take a look at some of those areas. Other than we have the percent marked other. And someone did not hear D.
Okay, so the question was, Karen had asked earlier in the chat about if they needed to add the community college representative. First of all, they need to have an Illinois WorkNet partner account. Then the team member information needs to be sent to info@illinoisworknet.com, including the name of the person and the region. And you can find all of this information under Get Started and Set Up Team that Natasha is just showing you on the screen. Then that person's name will be in the list of team members from which you can select that Natasha just demonstrated. So does that answer your question, Kathy? All right, great. So Natasha, do you want to answer, do you want to move down your list and then answer questions at the end? Because this one isn't, the next question that we have come in doesn't really fall into anything right now.
We'll just go ahead and start with Mike's question, because now we're down into the other section.
Okay. All right, so Mike Baker, would you like to address what is the drop-dead date for enrollment?
Okay, sure. Our target to have our 600 remains March 31. Obviously, that's getting more and more challenging, but there is no plan to stop enrollments. So just keep enrolling folks as we go along as fast as you can until we get to 600. On the next question about providing or training providers being procured, it depends on the situation. The bottom line is all training has to be procured, but there are ways to do it that can be expeditious or can piggyback on prior procurements that may have been made by one of the local workforce areas. So if the provider is already on the WIA list, is already being used, and that was procured, then you should be able to piggyback on that. You just need to follow your own local, well, the regional procurement policies of the grantees LWIA. Given the timing, I mean, we are in February now, and emergency procurement is probably warranted. So that could be expedited if the provider you have in mind is not already on an approved list. And again, you know, sole source is always appropriate if that is the case. So does that answer your question, Mike?
He indicated that all providers are on the WIA list. So,
All right.
and he just said yes. So do you want to move on to what date must training be completed?
Yes. All training must conclude by June 30 of 2015. And that gives us enough time, barely enough time, to have post-training placement opportunities and tracking for the evaluation.
All
So
right.
June 30, 2015.
Right. And then our next question is, if an ATIM applicant is WIA eligible, but this is not yet entered into IWDS because the team is not sure they are placeable, should we go ahead and determine eligibility in IWDS and then withdraw the applicant?
And let me read that one again. Adam is WIA eligible.
It sounds to me like they're talking about WIA eligibility versus ATIM eligibility. And if
Could we have David expand a little bit on the team is not sure they're placeable, meaning that they're not going to be employable?
David, did you call in or are you only on speakers?
Well, on the legal background issues, again, many employers are willing to look past those if the person has paid their debt to society and has the skills they need, as long as they know what they're getting and not surprised by it later. You know, you're going to have to work with employers on that one individually. I would err on the side of letting that person in. If they are not, you know, currently incarcerated, you know, which obviously they're not, or they wouldn't be here applying, I don't see any legal grounds to keep the person out.
Okay, and while David is typing, do you want to address, oh, okay, he has, I guess I'm asking, do we want them counted as IWDS eligible if we can't place them?
Well, without bogging down the proceedings too far, can you give us a clue as to what the issue is?
Or Mike, is this something that should be handled offline?
Well, it speaks to a larger question. So if it's cut and dried here or relatively simple,
Okay.
then I'd like to handle it with everyone on the line because this will come up in other places as well.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, isn't it true, though? I mean, WIA eligibility and ATIM eligibility are two different things. Like on the screen, they can be WIA eligible, but maybe they're not ATIM eligible because they have an offense that will not allow them to be employed, in a certain field. So, or, is that part of something so really they could be put in as eligible, but then down here they would go into this not eligible if that's the case.
Technically, yes, that's true. ATIM eligibility and WIA eligibility are not exactly the same thing. However, there is a new law that is going into effect, it may already be in effect, that the severity of a past crime cannot be used as a means for not hiring someone. So meaning like if you have two people that are equally qualified in front of you, one was convicted of manslaughter, one was convicted of DUI, and one was convicted of, petty theft. In the eyes of the law, all those people are the same.
Are they the same as somebody who has not been convicted of a crime?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying that the
No,
type.
according to that law.
Yeah. Now again, I'm not an attorney, but I was told by HR experts at from various private sector companies that this was coming down the pike very shortly, that the nature of the past crime cannot be taken into consideration. So our project may kind of significant issues from what, but they're okay. Okay, David. Yeah, this is going to get nuanced. So let's have an offline discussion, and then we'll put some guidance out on the Q&A or FAQ if it is generally, usable for the rest of the state.
All right, great. Thank you, Mike. And last question, I'm not quite sure who needs to answer this one, but I think it also came from David, and it looks like does training include OJT, meaning referencing back to the training must conclude by June 30th, 2015. David, type yes if that's what you meant in that question.
The intent is yes.
All right, so then that means that everything must be completed training-wise, OJT, internships, classroom training, everything has to be completed by June 30th.
Yes.
Okay.
All client activity has to conclude by then.
All right, do we have any other questions? Okay, Sarah's typing. Well, so we'll wait to see what Sarah's saying. 2015, correct. And we will have those, all of the questions from today included in our FAQ as soon as possible. Mike, did you have any other questions that you would like to ask the group at all? And they can make some answers by show of hands if you'd like.
Yeah, I would. How quickly can we do a poll question?
I can pull one up right now.
Okay. I would like to ask folks to respond to the poll question on how many WIA eligibility determinations they do on average each day.
All right, my typing is not so good, and I'm going to leave it as an open answer so that they can type in their answer. And we're going to open this up. So the question is, how many WIA eligibility determinations do you do each day? So if you can please type in your answer in the pod, then the answers will appear.
And I'm counting both positive and negative determinations because there's effort involved both ways. So how many folks do you make the call on each day?
And Jim, do you want a second question for ATIM clients?
No, I think, Mike, you're just wanting to verify it's how many are they doing ATIM WIA eligibility, correct? Because you're not in speaking to the other jobs under traditional WIA eligibility.
Yeah, I'm just for ATIM. Yeah,
Right.
This is just for ATIM. But I'm asking about the WIA eligibility determination because in the system, that's where the bulk of the bottleneck appears to be. Now, I know some areas do lots of background work that doesn't show up in the system while they're working toward doing eligibility. But I want to get a feel for how many y'all get done.
Mike, did you just read Karen Allen's?
Yeah, I'm just reading that now. We do group orientation, say we schedule for intake. That's hard to answer. Yeah. 4-day max. We've done as many as 12. Right? So, let's see. I want to show, I don't know if I can show this or not. If I wanted to put up a couple of tables out of a spreadsheet, how would I do that, Dee, or Natasha?
Let me.
I can move here. Let me just move the pod real quick, Dee, and then we'll move this up here. And then you can share your screen, Mike. Hold on. Let me stop sharing mine. And then, Mike, do you see a place where it says share my screen?
Uh-huh.
Okay, you go ahead and click on that so you can share your screen.
Desktop applications or Windows?
Whatever you can do. I usually just use desktop, but you can choose.
Do you have more than one monitor?
No.
And then for everyone who's on the line, if you need to see it a little bit bigger, hey, Mike, could you kind of like zoom into those a little bit on your screen?
Sure.
Like, I think you, yeah. And then for those that are watching in the webinar, if you need to make it bigger, then you can always click on the full screen button. Look like they're showing up good on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it well.
Okay, so for folks in the field, I've talked about this 2 or 3 weeks now on our weekly partner phone call, but I want to also double check with the practitioners that are doing the heavy lifting in the field, and here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that between January 16th and January 24th, we had 31 eligibility determinations that were made, but 75 new applications came in. And between January 24th and January 30th, we had 20 determinations made, but 90 applications came in. So that trend scares me a little bit because I'm worried that we've got this big pile growing and growing and growing, and our speed of WIA eligibility determinations is not keeping up anywhere close to the pace of the amount of applications coming in. No, that's not all bad. I'm very happy that new applications are coming in. So I guess I'm just wanting to double check with you all. What is your, I mean, does this look about right to you? Or are there things going on from your perspective that are not reflected in just looking at the raw numbers? So I guess to make it easy, I would just ask for a show of hands. Is there anyone that thinks that this information is somehow misleading or otherwise spurious? And if you raise your hand. If I go back to the webinar, will my screen still be sharing, or am I back here now?
Yeah, there you go.
Stop sharing. You need to stop sharing before your screen stops sharing.
Okay, well, let me go back. Well, I'll count on you ladies to capture that, because I want to leave the numbers up.
All right, and
So, and this
people
could
have
be a
raised their
function
hand.
of just not having worked through and clicking the button yet on eligibility. You may have all the pieces together, but may have just not clicked it in the system yet.
Karen typed this and said, you may lose people between the information session and the intake to determine eligibility. It is often 50% loss at each step.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, I'm talking with Pat from Collier Counties and a couple of other folks. We were talking about, you know, maybe a 50% attrition rate. So, you know, if we had 75 new applications come in, well, that's automatically we're down to like 35 or so, 35, 37. And then, you know, 90 at 45. So that week of January 24th, that's pretty close if we assume a 50% attrition rate. So that'd be 34, 35 versus 31 determinations done. So that's close enough for my book, certainly. But the next week kind of scares me, where we had 90 new applications come in, but only 20 determinations were done. So that's less than half, assuming that 50% attrition rate.
And then I'm just going to read you some of these poll answers, Mike, since you probably can't see the chat pod. The next person says, I think that applications come in, but then the customer is determined not suitable, testing, et cetera, and eligibility doesn't end up being a necessary step. David Taylor says, raw numbers are misleading, expressing online interest in ATIM and showing up for ATIM orientation and coming in with all documentation for eligibility are not the same. For example, I have 2 applicants who cannot afford to get a copy of their birth certificate. Tammy Peters wrote, I think that you are getting the applications online, but the clients are not coming to orientation, and if they do, then it is possible they are not following up. And Daryl Christy Lawrence said, we are having the same issues as David is pointing out.
Okay.
So those are some of the thoughts from the audience. We have another question from the audience if we want to move on from here.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Hey, thank you everybody for your feedback. That was very helpful. And I'm asking because I need to be able to explain that to the folks that I'm talking to. So your feedback on that was very helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. And Mike, if you want to click the stop sharing there. All right, good.
Hey, Mike, too, I think it might be good. I know Sarah said that the testing results determine not eligible or not eligible. If you're in an area where you're still using the 6th grade level, you can enter those numbers in, and then it'll go ahead and put them in this. They failed reading or math, and then they never go down. They never filter down, and it gives visibility of why they were not. It shows where they fell out and for the reason why they fell out. And then you can always use the withdrew button as well.
Right. But remember, let's clarify, if they're not eligible by virtue of not passing one of the criteria coming in, you don't need to withdraw them. You know, if they're not eligible, they're not eligible, and that will show up in the system.
All right. So can we take another question here? Do we have any guidelines for physical disabilities? I have a couple of clients that I don't think I can place because of things like a 10-pound weight limit on lifting. Is there any legal issues with saying they are ineligible?
Connie, that's a great question. Usually with physical disabilities, there is an accommodation that can be made with an employer. But that's on a case-by-case basis with the employer. Before you make a determination on this person, I would find out, well, first of all, there are lots of occupations within manufacturing that have different physical requirements. So if that person has a physical limitation, you may want to target something that is less physically demanding to start with. But then after having done that, if the employer still has a physical requirement on it, you should talk with that employer to see, what kind of accommodations have they made in the past, and is there an option to do that. I will double check with our folks here, but I know that we want to err on the side of giving folks the benefit of the doubt before we determine them not eligible. So with lack of a clear answer on that one, I would just put this person in a holding pattern, and we'll see what we can figure out with them.
All right, Natasha, do you want to address the questions that, or the item that Sarah just came up with, referencing the withdrawal versus ineligible, but to keep a cleaner dashboard, can we withdraw them?
I would say, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're going with the guidelines that you're accepting people with a 6th grade minimum for their TABE, then if you enter that information into IWDS and they're less than 6th grade, it'll automatically populate in the WIA eligibility and you don't have to worry about it. If you're in a region where you have a higher level than that you're using as part of being eligible for the training, then I would withdraw them and then just put a note in the comment section. That's my thought, because you can always unwithdraw them if they come back and take a higher TABE score. And then if you just tell them that up front in an orientation session, I would think that you tell them flat out, these are the requirements, and if you don't meet the requirements, then we'll withdraw you. But if you come back and take a higher score, then we can unwithdraw you and continue you through the program. Do you have any objections to that, Mike?
Well, my only concern is that at the end of the day, we're going to want to know how many people really couldn't pass the eligibility requirements and how many people just disappeared. And those are two very different reasons for why the person didn't proceed on. So as long as you're documenting in the case notes the reason for the withdrawal, I don't have too much heartburn with that, but I would suggest for most cases, I would let the system handle it. So if they're not eligible, let the system just show them as not eligible, or that they couldn't pass a particular piece of the eligibility requirement.
Yeah, just to be clear though, the system, if your local regional approach doesn't accept anyone with anything lower than 8th grade, if you put in that they have 6th grade, then it will pass them through. The 6th grade is the minimum for the system.
Right. That's true. Yeah, so in those cases, you just need to document the reason for the withdrawal.
Right.
Then the question comes back, IWDS case notes or comments in Illinois WorkNet.
If you put your comments into in the comment section in ATIM, then it populates the comments in IWDS. Now, I don't know, maybe Jim or Mike can say, if there's a preferred area, if it's a different area within IWDS.
I would say, this is Jim, I would say if they're working with the client, they would put the comments in their IWDS case notes. The comment section in WorkNet is typically used for clients before they get picked, like if they can't get a hold of them or something like that. Once they're starting to work with the client, they should be putting their case notes in IWDS.
And the question is, what's the lag time on that? How long does it take before IWDS is updated?
Are you talking about the comment?
For the comment section?
In the chat section, yes.
I don't know. I'd have to check with my programmer because, like I said, we've prioritized certain syncing features. I would say between 5 and 15 minutes. I don't know. I can double check on that though. But they do use the comments in the personalized training and employment plan, and that is when you're working with them because that's where everyone can comment on the personalized training and employment plan. Just for clarification, though.
All right. There's a couple of things in the chat pod. Then you might need to show the programmers, Natasha.
Okay, I see.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions? Karen's typing right now.
I just have, Sarah, could you send me or whoever has had an issue with your not being able to see the comments in IWDS, then I'm going to send I'm going to type in my email address. Could you send those to me and to Jim, and so we can take a look at those customers?
Jim, do you want to type your email address in the chat pod as well? And then do you want to
Sure.
take a look at Karen's question that just popped in?
The reason why we were having people put comments in the personalized training and employment plan is because that's if you're, when you're working with your team, they can see comments they can't see IWDS. So if it's specific to the training plan, then the information should go and stay with the training plan so that the partners, if they need to see that comment, can see that comment. They can make comments and it updates IWDS. But if it's something that really has nothing to do with the training plan or is not appropriate for the other team members to see, it should be made in IWDS, not in ATIM. And Kathy had a question. Has anyone had trouble with the availability of training programs for ATIM participants?
So it looks like several people have. Is that something that we need to have the programmers look into as well?
It's not a technical issue.
Oh, okay. So does that mean they haven't
Process
entered the training?
issue. I mean, it's just something like in the region. Well, if I'm understanding it correctly, they're trying to find training programs for the people, not clicking buttons.
Oh, okay. Kathy, is that what you mean?
Okay, Kathy, why don't you get together with Larry and Robin, and we can have a short discussion offline about things you might be able to do.
And Connie just typed in North Central Region ICC is the only place that has all the training. Other colleges have limited training. So is that something that we just need to do some more research or help them figure out places to do more research?
Yeah, oh, and actually, Kathy, I was assuming you were trying to deal with a central region, so it's an issue. It's a north central issue. Okay, well then you need to work with Connie and Paula and Michael and I. Okay, yeah, it's not so that every provider has to provide every training. I mean, that's shouldn't be a surprise. The question is, what can be done? I know that First Institute up north has a mobile welding lab, and I don't know what its capacity is or how much it's locked down, but that's the kind of thing that they were talking about doing statewide. So if you have need for welding and aren't close to welding, if you have enough folks, the mobile welding lab might be an option. We can check into that.
That sounds like out-of-the-box thinking to me.
Well, it might be out of reality thinking too, but you never know. It's worth looking into. So Kathy, get with Connie and Paula, and I'm interested to know, what it is you're trying to, what kind of training you're trying to get to, other than perhaps logistics. I know. Well, I don't know. I believe that the MSSC logistics credential can be done online, but we'll have to double check that as well.
Jim might be able to help us with some of those answers. Jim Nelson.
Yes. So I guess I want to figure out, what it is you're searching for, and then we'll see what we can do to fill your need. So if you can send me an email directly with what it is that you're trying to get and where you're trying to get it.
And Mike, you're going to type your email address into the chat pod for everybody.
Sure. And then, along with that, why are you trying to get it? I mean, what's the demand? I mean, if employers there are saying that's what we need, that's one thing. But if that's what people are coming in and asking for, that's something else. So I need to know what's driving the desire to add a particular kind of training.
And Connie typed, LWIA 14 is very concerned that all the training providers be approved by the ATIM grant to limit issues with audits. So how can they avoid that concern?
Well, Connie, you're the project manager, so you have the ability to approve it. So you should be able to handle that.
All right. Do we have any, Connie is typing right now, but do we have any other questions for the good of the group that we can answer? We are coming up on our hour. I'd like to remind everybody that we do have the Resume and Portfolio Builder webinar tomorrow and Thursday. And you can register at the Build a Resume at eventbrite.com. So if you have not had your ATIM participants register for that yet, please do so. We will be recording it just in case, but it is got a lot of information in it, so please make sure that everybody is registered. Natasha, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Nope, that's all I have. Thank you very much, everyone.
Mike, do you have any last words that you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, in telling Connie, I don't want to go too far off the deep end because she's new to WIA. So you need to work with Paula and Michael. There may be procurement issues at the college that we can work through very quickly, hopefully. But the bottom line is, as the project manager, you have ownership of making sure all the elements come off. So I'm not sure, what would hold you back from approving any training that is in demand and would lead people to employment. So if the training provider is there, there may be some bureaucratic hoops you have to jump through, but ultimately, you can make the call as to whether you want to pursue it or not.
All right, so if there's no other comments or questions, we are going to end the recording for this session, and we'll see everybody hopefully tomorrow or Thursday on the ATIM webinar. Our next technical assistance webinar is scheduled for Tuesday, February 18th. We'll see you then. Thanks.